So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to the amazing Talk the Talk, where we highlight all kinds of fabulous local business leaders, success stories. We have the owner of Italias Mexican restaurant here with us today, Mr. Felix. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you. Hi, everyone.
So it is amazing to see you. It's amazing to have you on the show. And Italia's Mexican Cuisine, ladies and gentlemen, looks absolutely amazing. It's really in a beautiful little enclave here, right on Trenton and Sugar in Edinburgh, Texas. And you know, we were mentioning this earlier. As you drive by it, it's beautiful. It's very well lit. The decor is amazing. But as you drive by it, it's called Italias. And
Yes.
I was laughing because we have a lot of friends that have said, well, is this an Italian restaurant? So where did the name Italia come from?
So it's named after my daughter. So my daughter, Italia, who's 6, she's about to be 7 this November. So I named the restaurant after her. The backstory behind the name Italia is that I was in Europe. I was just, I'll say it here very briefly. I was on an educational tour with school. We were in Europe. We were in Assisi, Italy, and I was in a group among other students. And one of the students there, one of the girl students there, and I didn't know everybody because it was students from all of other kind of high schools. But one of the girls' names in our group that we were in, her name was Italia. So when I heard the name, it kind of just stuck with me, and I must have been like 17 years old at that time.
Wow.
So, you know, it went from since then to if I ever have a little girl, I'm gonna name her Italia, which I did. And then the name now is transpired onto the restaurant.
How cool. So does she know that this is her place?
Now she does. now she does. She has a great time. She loves attending to the customers when she walks in, and she does it all on her own. Like I don't tell her to go and tend to the clients. She will say, "Dad, we have customers."
That is
so
awesome.
She's picked up a little bit on the businessy side of the business, if you will, or the customer service side, if you will, because that's what she likes to do when she walks in.
That is awesome.
So,
You're raising
yes.
her to be a boss babe. It's all good.
That's right.
It's all
That's
good.
right. Yeah.
So this is not your only business, correct? You're
Correct.
a businessman just
Yes.
through and through.
Yes. It's been challenging. This is my third business. My first couple of businesses is we have an accounting and payroll business, and then number 2 would be the tax side, the tax business, Happy Tax Returns, and then this would be the third business, Italia's Mexican Cuisine.
Wow, that's
Thank you.
amazing how
Yes.
you juggle all of that.
It's a challenge.
I believe
But
it.
it's all worth it.
Hey, it's all, well, don't worry about Italias because you have your Italia that clearly is ready to start.
Ready to step it up, yes.
She's ready to take
That's
it
right.
on.
Yes.
So are you an Edinburgh native?
Originally, I'm actually from Edinburgh. So, from Edinburgh, you know, and I kind of lived at a few different places before my wife and I bought our home in Edinburgh. So now we're Edinburgh natives, if you will, for the last couple of years.
That's wonderful.
Yes, and I'm 5 minutes down the street from the businesses, so I could walk here if I wanted to here to work.
That's amazing. That is
Yes.
absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, one other question in terms of that. Okay, so you said that you have your tax business and then another business that is financial in nature as well. So,
Yes.
how did you get into the restaurant business specifically? Because I know restaurant business is brutal. It's tough.
It has been, yeah, most definitely. You know, I think at the core of that idea, just because I could. I mean, it was just because I could. And you know, it's like you said, businessman. And it was just something that I wanted to try and give it a good try, not just give it a whatever kind of try. Give it a good shot. We opened up October 19th, 2021. We're coming up on a year. And these last 12 months, I think for up to where we're at, has been amazing. It's been a journey. It's been challenging. We've been able to do it with what we have. We've got great staff. Really good help right now is hard to find. So the staff which is like another core part of this business is to make sure you have good staff. So I think we've been very lucky with the staff that we've has been able to come together and then grow together. And so what I tell them is that this isn't my restaurant. This is our restaurant. Because a lot of this experience, I mean, you said, how'd you come up to the restaurant idea? But I didn't come to the restaurant idea because I've worked in a restaurant. I kind of just came up with the idea to try it out, go through its experiences. And I also believe that it wasn't just me looking for another way to make a living. There's other folks, there's other people. So when the thought came about, you're going to need staff, how are you going to do it? I kind of just put my best foot forward and thought, we'll come across them. Mm-hmm. We'll come across those that are genuinely interested in working in a good restaurant, good culture, and that are able to make good food. So, and they've come together.
That's awesome.
Yes, yeah.
So how did you come up with,
Concept.
So when you start with your restaurant concept, right?
Yep.
So firstly, you got to have nerves of steel. Because you already know the whole business craziness of it all with your two businesses. But then, there is that familial aspect, which I think is so integral to having a successful company, any type of company, whether it be restaurant or not. But what about like the food, man? Because this food looks awesome, and you have some really unique takes on certain dishes. So how did that part come about?
So I knew I didn't want to be just another Tex-Mex restaurant. Nothing against any restaurants really, but as I took into account the location, I took into account that this where we're at right now, I think it is underdeveloped, and as it's slowly being developed, I thought to myself that it has to be a reason that's a little bit more special than just something you can just get around the corner. And so that's why I thought, I didn't want to be another, just offer something else, or just offer the same thing. I wanted to offer something you normally don't find just around the corner. So that way it does, or hopefully the idea is that it gives people a reason to the curiosity, of course the taste, and what the menu is about. And so the concept was just, I had to relate to something, and I thought Mexican, but I knew I didn't want it to be Tex-Mex, so then I thought I have to go a little deeper, and that's when I thought, well then, you gotta make it authentic Mexican. So we hired a chef out of Mexico City, Chef Roberto Hernandez, and he came in for 2 whole weeks. He trained the kitchen staff, which was really cool. It was all a very neat experience, because when he came in, he and he started cooking and prepping and whatnot, and we were the ones writing notes. So he's saying, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and he knows. But we're like, hey, boss.
Hold on.
Yeah, we had to kind of take a step back for a quick second and be prepared to write notes. And so we made the recipe book in real time.
Wow.
In real time. And so it got them that much more engaged. They felt a little bit more ownership to the recipe book. We have made some adjustments here and there, just because, again, you study the market with this food.
Exactly.
How do people like it? Perhaps it's too salty, perhaps not tasty enough, maybe it's too spicy. And so we got to look out for those things. And so when we first opened, it was with serving free food.
Oh wow,
because
that's a gamble.
Yes,
it is.
Well, because I needed to know now.
Yeah.
I needed to know now, is this food gonna sit well? And I needed to know now, so I was like, I really just kind of need a stress test the kitchen team and give them a stress test. And really, that's why I do it, is to give them a stress test. A lot of orders coming in. Does it come out consistently?
It reminds me of
Come out
Bar
tasting
Rescue.
good? Yeah, see, like that. Yes, exactly.
All that I see in my head is
Yes.
like, okay, we're gonna go for the stress test. That's so cool because I feel like a lot of times here in the Valley, I mean, honestly, we have awesome food. Like we have fantastic
Yes,
food.
we
You
do.
can't complain. You can't argue that.
Yep.
But a lot of times we have this misconception that we have the best Mexican food, and I love the fact that you differentiate that and you say it's Tex-Mex food. So there's Tex-Mex food and
Correct.
there's authentic Mexican cuisine,
Correct.
which is so different.
Yes, it is.
And that's a really awesome experience for people like myself that have had more experience with Tex-Mex. So like, well, let me see, what's the difference in terms of the way that the meals are prepared?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that it must have been a learning curve for your staff,
Yes.
having to learn the way that.
Because for some of these dishes,
Mm-hmm.
some of us have never tasted. I've never gotten into the mole. I've never gotten into the, enchilada verdes, or, and it was all very good. When we were here and the chef, he prepped and he said, tomorrow you're going to taste test everything. So as I did, I think in 2 days, everything you see on the menu, I had to eat.
Oh my God.
And yes. So it was like, the first 3 days that he was here was all prep. And then the last 2 days that he was here, it was all food tasting. And it was like taco after taco, or enchilada after enchilada, and it was, all this food coming out. And I had to be the one, said, you have to be the first one to try it. And
It's
not
like I'm
only
gonna sacrifice myself.
yes. So, and let me say this. Well, this one other thing about him is that he corrected how we should be eating this kind of food. Because a taco, okay, I thought at the very basics, at the very simplest way to eat a taco, you just pick it up and you chunk it up, right? But I did that with the cochinita pibil. And I just grabbed the taco, I took a bite, and then the chef looks at me and he says, no, you don't know how to eat.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, you're going to have to school me on that
He
when
said-
the food comes. Because
Yes.
I'm one of those like,
So he said, you don't know how to eat. So I was like, okay, so what do you mean? He opened up the cochinita pibil, he laid down the schneepeck, and we had the onion and the cilantro, and of course the spring of lime, and then he said, now take a bite. And so I'm also learning that in their culture, or at least in the culture down south, further south, they enjoy the food. They take their time with the food. They savor it. Versus here, kind of like what you just did.
It's kind of like, okay, it's so good, I gotta eat it.
And we gotta eat it. But
But-
over there, they take their time. They're patient. And they enjoy it, and they enjoy it with good company and good combos and stuff, and over good coffee. And so, I was impressed with that, and I kind of took to it, and I think it's parallel to, I believe, my humble character. So I liked it very
It's
much.
an experience.
Yes, I
It's
like
an
it.
experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
That is awesome. That is really, and it's so interesting that you also mentioned that, in terms of the way that you, because it's the composure.
Yes.
And you eat with your eyes, you eat with all of your senses,
Yep.
really.
Yep.
And I had a friend of mine that told me that she went to Mexico City and had quesadillas, but they didn't have cheese. And I was like, how do you have quesadillas without cheese?
No cheese.
I was like, wow. And so, I mean, again, that's a good
It's a different
example
way
of
of-
like the fact that there's authentic Mexican
Yes.
cuisine
Yes.
and an authentic experience.
Yes.